Welcome one and all to Ramble Reacts. Jim Campbell.
Hello.
I love to say I told you so.
Yeah, you were right. I was
all
going
along.
Oh, City are going to probably score first. Ooh. I forget who was it who said that. It's probably you.
You mug.
Yeah. Will Marcus?
Yeah.
Will Thibaut Courtois even need a shower?
Well, he did have to reach for that one that cannoned off the bar.
True.
When Nico Gonzalez scored to make it Real Madrid 3, Manchester City 1. And I'll tell you something, Jim. How it was just 3-1.
Yeah.
Manchester City are out of the Champions League, and quite frankly, they good riddance, because they are a discredit to themselves in the competition. They have, obviously, they've won this competition recently, blah, 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 but my goodness.
Yeah.
We've seen Manchester City this season struggle, of course, even though they're still on for Champions League spots next season in the Premier League. We've seen them have moments of quality because they possess that, and then get pegged back, and then look nervy.
Yeah.
And then this was so flat. Their lack of fight was incredible.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've seen a performance like that, I'll say, from an English side. In fact, you could extrapolate that, a British side. I could include Rangers and Celtic, even though, Rangers certainly have been hammered a few times in Europe recently. But that type of performance, the lack of fight, any kind of bite, intensity, I'm almost lost for words.
Yeah. I mean, you've been preaching for a while that we shouldn't be surprised when Man City lose games, when they lose them in a silly style. But even with that in mind, and I think you're right, it was a shockingly flat display, because they go into the game knowing what the task is, right? Which is obviously unique in terms of the games we've seen them play. And they go 1-0 down very, very early on. Obviously, now that's difficult in any away game in the Champions League, particularly when you then lose England's Stone Rose to an injury. And I hope that you're feeling okay about that, Marcus. But in games like that, and again, it's difficult at the Bernabeu, you have to make it chaotic. You have to give everything. You have to make it a fight. You have to make it one of those nights where, the team in the lead think, oh, well, we're going to have to really... We're going to have to fight for this.
Drag it down to the trenches.
Exactly. There was none of that. Nothing.
And you knew it wasn't going to be.
No,
you
it
knew
was
there was
clear
going to be.
From the off.
At half-time, when it was 2-0 to Real Madrid, we were all messaging each other in a group going, there's almost no point watching this second half. It was so predictable. Like I said, any other Premier League side that I can think of would not put in a performance like that. In particular, in that second half, you think, right, you're down on your luck. Just, you knew they were never going to come back. I'd give you Craig Shakespeare's Leicester. I believe he was in charge when it was.
They got to the quarter-final.
They did.
So better than this lot.
Indeed. I'd give you any version of Arsene Wenger's Arsenal, even when they were kind of inevitably rolled over to Bayern, as they would do. Again, struggling to think of a team, a Premier League side, that the inevitability of them losing was so obvious. Because even with the aforementioned sides, even if you had those teams and they were down to Real Madrid, look, how many times have we said this season, you can lose at the Bernabeu, you can lose at, name whichever stadium you want, Anfield, flipping Emirates, whatever. You can lose at those places. You can have a bad day at the office. All the other cliches. The manner of it, the lack of fight, it's bringing it out my inner Graeme Souness here. I'm doing my note. I can't. Well, that can only really come from one place for me.
Yeah, because the strange thing about it is that it is true to say that Real Madrid were better than Man City in every department.
Yeah,
but at the same time doesn't tell the whole story of the game, because the lack of fight that City showed that you're mentioning just allowed Madrid to play at a pace that was so calm. It's very rare that you see professional footballers in a game of this magnitude essentially be able to sit back and take stock and enjoy the reality of being a professional footballer who plays for Real Madrid in the Champions League. They were playing it completely at their own pace. It was like they were like a cat toying with a particularly cowardly mouse. It was. I've never seen a particularly a Pep Guardiola Man City side like that. There were shades of, and I think this is being generous, but there were shades of pre-Guardiola Man City when they were in the Champions League, and they looked a little bit out of their depth through inexperience rather than kind of anything else. And there was perhaps a little bit of an inferiority complex. But again, that wasn't as listless
still
as
have
this.
Some fight though. There's still this is what I mean. This is they pretty. I'm sorry to keep sort of saying it, but I mean, again, you put in any Premier League side who have been in their position, or even any other Man City side, and yes, you can say, "Oh, come on, lads, killing Mbappe when he's on that kind of form. How do you stop him?" And we're not saying that. Again, if any mention any side, go there. Mbappe scores a hat trick. He plays really well. Blah 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 blah. You kind of go, "Well, flipping heck. What can we do there?" But the old expression, leave everything out on the pitch. Did they leave anything out on the pitch?
No, absolutely not.
I'm not. And it's such a strange one because these players are top class professionals. I know there's one or two new faces like Marmoush, for example, who's recently joined them, but there's a reason why they've signed him. He's obviously a quality player. Same with Nico Gonzalez. But just the lack. I keep saying the lack. I don't know what is going on. Like Guardiola, he looks beaten and defeated on the sidelines.
When he said, he said recently, didn't he, we only have a 1% chance of winning, and then said, "Oh, actually, I lied." It's like, no, I don't know that you were lying. Like 1%,
he did lie. It was 0% chance,
yeah.
Jim. It was
true, yeah.
But that's what I mean. Like it has to be coming from the way the manager is sending that team out there. Because if you go out there and you think, right, Haaland's not starting, we've got a few injuries, etc., etc. Right, okay. Any other manager would say, right, we're going to have to hit him on the break, sit deep, all the rest of it. But Guardiola is still trying to play the same game. But it's as if he's trying to play this game with a load of pensioners half the time. I mean, look at Phil Foden. The way Mbappe just breezed past Phil Foden for his hat-trick goal and slots it in the corner.
Yeah, I mean, it's a clever move from Mbappe, but still.
It is, but like it was as if it was like, oh, that's annoying, he's gone past me.
Yeah, I mean,
and the urgency, nothing.
Mbappe's second goal, he was, surrounded by so many players as well. And again, it's really quick feet. He's a brilliant player, but you're right, it's the lack of urgency. And it was just... They look like they've piled in and given up on the season. They really, really do.
It's crazy. I mean, again, like...
Let's not lose sight of how brilliant that
is. For the neutral. But I think that, again, I want to stress that if another side, if you've got a big side with possibly the best player in the world doing all this to you, that, sometimes you do just have to take it and so on. But... I'm telling you, if he came up against, Wes Morgan and Robert Huth and whoever you want to say, I'm honing in on that team to try and illustrate my point here. There's no way. He may well score 3 goals, but he'll leave that field with a few bruises. Do you know what I mean? Like there's absolutely, and one of them might get sent off. They might get a yellow card. They might do what was his name? The Atalanta bloke did, throw the ball and barge him. Something.
The pace of the game was a really, really interesting thing, and essentially how much it differed between the two teams, because Real Madrid were quicker to everything. And it's funny because you look at that game and it's not like they were pressing them particularly hard or harrying them particularly hard. It's like collectively, City's legs have gone. It doesn't matter the age of the player, doesn't matter the experience of the player. The pace they played it at was so slow. To the point where it feels that it comes out of a sense of fear. They look like a team that was scared to get battered in the Bernabeu, and then that's what happened. And you feel like it could have been more had Madrid really, really wanted it to be. And I think we should probably mention how good Mbappe's hat-trick was, because obviously, you've got to score those goals, and that was, up there with as good a hat-trick as you're going to see, apart from the really extreme, like Rivaldo ones or whatnot. It was really 3 really, really good goals.
Lovely mention for that. You're right. I mean...
It's big for his Real Madrid story, isn't it? Because there were murmurings like at the beginning, like, season. Is this going to fit? Is it going to work? Can him and Vinicius play in the same team? And he's scored a lot of goals for them at this point, and a hat trick against Man City in this round in the Champions League that, let's be honest, they shouldn't even really be in. It's still a big moment for him.
Yeah, he's definitely grown into the season, which shouldn't be a huge surprise for everybody because it is Kylian Mbappe. But still, it was notable at the start of the season that he was having a few little teething problems. But he played in a different league, a different team, and a team where in a league where there's a little bit more sort of competition. You know, I think Ligue 1 is still a decent league. But the fact is, his hat-trick was brilliant tonight. He's the first player to score a hat-trick at the Bernabeu and the Nou Camp in European Cup / Champions League history, by the way. So another little record for him. And when he powers in past the defender and finishes beautifully in the 4th minute, you just thought, here we go.
Yeah.
And he thought to himself, I really fancy this. And again, I know we've had our say, but just briefly, at that moment, Man City almost collectively just went, I just want tonight to be over.
Yeah, totally.
I just want it to be over.
Now, Ruben Diaz is a brilliant defender, and he's someone they have missed when they've been without him this season. And initially, you look at that and you think, oh, God, that's a bit of a mistake from him. But he should do better, but at the same time, it is exceptionally difficult to deal with Mbappe when he's coming at you like that, even when he's got a lobbed finish to then execute. But yeah, you're right, it was just game over, wasn't it?
Well, I don't really understand it from Pep Guardiola, if I'm honest. Again, to stress my true full feelings of Pep Guardiola, I, among many, many other people, rate him as one of the greatest people that has ever turned his hand to professional
without
football.
a doubt.
Okay,
it defines the modern game.
Which is why I'm kind of still so flabbergasted that he goes into this game. The tie's still alive. But Man City have lost 10 of their last 20 away games this season, including this loss at the Bernabeu. He knows that they're in a bad place. He knows that they're not the team that he was managing last season. Is he the manager that he was last season? I would suggest not. Could he get back to that? Of course he could, but I don't think it's going to happen at Man City. But anyway, I've said all that before. Why not? Guardiola, yes, we know he's got the sort of the plan A, if you like, and which is so devastatingly good when everyone's buying into it, which for the majority of his managerial career has been the case. And we also know that he can mix it up. Guardiola's not a sort of one-trick pony. Yeah. If he wants to, all the in-game tactics and all the... Well, you know it all. I'm not going to bore you with that. But I don't understand why he doesn't look at this game and think, right, okay... We're down on our hunches a little bit here. We have been for the most of the season now. It seems to be quite obvious that's the case. Why not then have more of a bespoke game plan for this particular game? And I've said this on a number of occasions this season, but it just seems to be, no, I think will it work? I hope it works.
Yeah, I think this is the first time I've ever seen a Manchester City performance under Pep Guardiola and thought that he's underthought it. Yeah, there was a sense they've gone there and just hoped that they could have one of those magical European nights, but not with any real conviction that it might happen, or certainly not with any plan to execute it. It's really hard to know what their plan was because they were so distinctly second best, absolutely everywhere on the pitch, that they just essentially they were not protagonists in the game at all.
No, indeed, the game completely and utterly happened to them. From a Real Madrid point of view, it was a lovely old job. The only thing they'll be slightly miffed about is they didn't keep a clean sheet.
Yeah.
But otherwise...
Why are they even in this game? It's a real, I mean, we watched that extremely long, group stage and we all saw the games. We remember the defeat to Milan and that sort of thing, but it kind of really does feel ridiculous that they're in this position. Whereas Man City, it's like, I mean, of course you're going out now. Yeah, that's what you've got to offer.
And I think for the rest of the sides who are in the competition thought, one of the big boys will go out when this was drawn. Well, no, a big boy hasn't gone out. Very much a wounded boy has gone out in Man City, and Real Madrid have not really exerted themselves that much in this time. The first leg they did. Man City gave them a game in the first leg, we should say. But I always felt that Real Madrid were good value for the win, despite the errors at the end of the game. But they had chances, and they probably should have been ahead. But this tie as well, it was training ground stuff for a lot of it. This is a huge confidence boost for Real Madrid. It is ominous that they won this game, that Mbappe gets the hat-trick. He basically says to the whole of Europe, if there were any doubters, stick it up your whatsits, because I'm here, and I really, really want to win this competition for the first time.
Gonna get that hat trick on my left as well. Yeah. Just do take note of that.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and they march on. They do march on. Real Madrid. And if anybody thought, they weren't that good in the first phase of the Champions League, yeah, I understand they've not been hugely tested, in particular in the second leg of this tie, but this Real Madrid, it's the Champions League.